It's the day after Nigeria's official celebration of Democracy Day, but the conversations are still centered around Democracy Day, the president's address to the nation, as well as the reactions that a number of prominent people have shared regarding that. And today we hope to be able to dig deeper into the conversations about Democracy Day, as well as some of the fresh conversations that have come to the fore. You're welcome to Breakfast Central, TGIF edition. I am Olive Emodi.
Well, I like the way you said it, TGIF edition.
Yes, that's a reminder that after this
simply
weekend
put, we're going to miss breakfast show every time we get on Friday.
Stop lying.
Why
are you always lying?
Just like I always feel some type of way, I wish I could talk to the management so they could extend, but then again, you have
giving Benga.
Yeah. I mean, I took a leaf from
I think that they should extend it so you and Benga can host. I'm going to be watching from YouTube and dropping my comments. I'm like, guys, great show. I'm such a huge fan. But if they do that, what happens to Mazino and Judith? Are you trying to kick your colleagues out of work?
No, that's why I said that. But we are happy. I didn't finish my. Let me finish. Let me land.
Okay.
Land.
Okay, Gadu's land.
But I'm happy that the management has, brought in top professionals to handle the weekend as well, Mazino and Judith, and that makes it, complementary. It complements each other.
What can serve you better for you and Benga who like to work weekends, but unfortunately cannot, because we have an excellent team of hosts for Breakfast Extra over the course of the weekend.
We like to work weekends.
You want to extend the show to Saturday. You said it just now.
I did not say
so what I would suggest
there's a difference between
you do not take leave. That would be a great way to show your dedication.
There's a difference from when you miss something and when you actually want to be there to do something. They're two different things. But I slept sad, bottom line. I mean, there's so much happening. The Air India incident was very touchy. I couldn't help but start thinking, especially the picture that surfaced online of that.
The family. Software engineer who had worked in London for 6 years, gone back to India to pick up his wife and children for the hopes of what seemed like a better life, took a selfie, sent to relatives, and that was the last time.
That was the last.
I read that a plane crashed literally 30 seconds after taking off.
Yes, it did.
And the only person who allegedly survived was the person who sat in seat 11A. And everybody's like, seat 11A is going to be the most expensive seat on airlines.
Well, not really. Coincidentally, anyone who sits at the front or sits, in short, the survivors of airplane crashes are not those at the front.
Neither are they those at the rear.
They're actually those at the back.
You think?
Yes. Researchers, if you watch the investigative shows on TV, especially when they focus on plane crashes, you will see the explanation. But this was quite different. And he had to open and, a jump out. But 241 persons.
It's not just that these people had died. Yeah. It's also the fact that the plane did not just kill the people on board the plane, but also it crashed into a hostel.
There were
medical students, they're dining, you can see the tail of the plane still sticking out.
Absolutely.
They'll tell you that you have a 1 in how many % chance of dying in a plane. It's the safest way to travel, but when a crash happens, it's often almost always tragic.
It's deadly.
And it's really sad. Just watching the last moments.
Yeah, we've had our own fair share of plane crashes here in Nigeria. If we recall Sosoliso, that happened some years back. But this time, 241, only one survivor. And there's still no exact figure on the numbers of the
people
students,
who have been
from the medical school. But I mean, there are reports that some who had very, very third degree and so on burns were actually.
Someone who I was reading a tweet, and somebody who said he lives in India, that he lives not far from where the crash happened, and he said if anyone had seen it in real life, that they would not be able to stomach it. The trauma was so much for even the people that witnessed it. I tried to skip some of the videos because it was too traumatizing to watch. But just seeing the last moments of these people, these gentlemen who were at the airports, they made a video. They said, "Oh, thank you, India, for giving us such a good time. It's 10-hour flight back to London." They're expecting that the next time they'll be making a video is in Gatwick. It reminds us of the fragility of life. The fragility of life, here today, gone tomorrow, gone with the wind. The hope is that in the time that we have here, we're able to live authentically, love as much as we can, and just show up as our best selves and for the people that we care about, because we really never know when our last moments will be there. No guarantees.
Nobody knows.
Nobody really knows. We just can only hope. The other day, last week, I saw a body. I mean, in 1 week, I saw 2 bodies on the road home. And it's just so traumatizing that on the way you're just thinking, this person had a family that he said, okay, I'm going, I'll see you later. And as a matter of fact, they never saw them later. In some cases, you're wondering if the family even knows where these people are.
Because sometimes, there's this statement often made, especially from, my place, they would say, if you're going out, always let people know where you're going to. Even if you're just going to buy something, I'm going here. So should anything happen, at least they know where they could go to, where they can run to and say, oh, yeah, this is where he said or she said or they said they were coming. But it's sad. While we're battling that, there was equally a video that surfaced online where many people had alleged that the voice belonged to the FCT minister of a turbulence that affected a private jet. And the person was screaming, calling Satan, you're a liar, and so on and so forth. We do not know whose voice that was, but of course.
But there was another video of the FCT minister giving a testimony of surviving, or like what I would maybe call a near-death experience, or what could have been a near-death experience, and people were making mockery of it and laughing and saying, and to be honest, of course we joke, we're joke stars in Nigeria, we joke about a lot of things, but the truth is, when it comes to a plane crash, if you've never experienced really bad turbulence, you don't understand how scary it is, where you're just sprayed, like you can feel the plane descending in seconds. You've never really experienced that kind of terrible turbulence in the air. You probably don't understand how it feels. Where people are shouting, Jesus, Jesus, I'm praying. Everybody immediately goes into prayer mode.
To whoever they think is God.
Yes.
You're shouting, Satan, you're a liar. Jesus, where are you? There's a lot. See, nobody really knows when it will happen. But we know it will surely come. That's what the Holy Book says as well. They live in a conscience.
I think the most important thing for me to ensure that these people's death is not in vain, or their deaths aren't in vain, is that a proper investigation is carried out. So we know what happens. Because I saw another video where somebody was trying to press some screens on the monitor, the in-flight monitor. Nothing was working. They were trying to, everything they were touching wasn't working. I saw a video. I cannot confirm or deny, if it is from the same one. But the allegations were that it was from the Air India flight, right? So I think it's proper for investigations to be carried out, so that if there's culpability on the part of the airline, if we remotely find out that they were aware of some faults and they allowed the plane, they allowed that bird to go into the air, that they will be held liable. Because you can't, there are certain jobs, certain things you can do as a joke, but there are certain career paths and certain businesses that you have the life of human beings in your hands. So you cannot afford to be careless. When in the slightest doubt, the way that in the law profession, we would often say it's better for 100 guilty men to go scot-free than for one innocent man to, be wrongfully arrested or maltreated.
Better to be wrong.
And that's why even in crimes and criminal cases, we'll say that you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. It's the same way that if you have the slightest iota of doubt about an aircraft, that aircraft should not go into the air. It doesn't matter whose flight, who's missing what, that aircraft should not go into the air, because people's lives are in your hands.
The black box, hopefully, let's see what will come out of it. But our hearts, indeed, you can't be any human and not have
feel that pain
of, oh my goodness, how did this happen? Boeing has come under very tight scrutiny, especially all through the years, for having these difficulties. But it seems like when they were about just, weathering the storm, coming out from a lot of criticism, here they are again.
And even the one man who survived, while we say, oh, it's a miracle that he survived, he's going to go through a lot of trauma. I know of Dr. Esther Lunge, whom I know personally. Before I got to know her up close, I had interviewed her several times. And she survived. She was the only survivor of a plane crash in Nigeria. And there's a thing as survivor's guilt. She would say how she felt guilty for a long time, carried the guilt of, why am I the only one that survived? What is it about me? Just even people who would look at this person and wish, but this person survived. My own people did not survive. So it's just a lot of emotions that man is going to have to walk through. The trauma of knowing that, I heard he lost a brother on the flight as well. That I'm not also sure of. I think a number of the details are still sketchy. But it's a lot of trauma even for the person who survived. Our hearts really go out to everyone who's lost someone and everyone who's mourning as a result of this aircraft crashing, as well as those who will be triggered, because there are people who have lost loved ones through air crashes that saying this will trigger their emotions again. So our heart really goes out to you.
It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. But then again, like we've rightly said, talking about aircraft and flights. There was a situation that took place here in Nigeria 48 hours or more ago. Unfortunately, or would I say, well, fortunately or unfortunately, we couldn't take that on our wake-up conversations yesterday because there was none. It was a special broadcast. And it had to do with former governor of Edo State, one who's known to talk tough, especially at the National Assembly. It shows a video of him, many have said allegedly, accusing and also doing more to staff of a particular airline. It's basically airpiece, and it's a former governor, I call him Senator Oshomole, especially being called out for an unruly behavior at the Lagos airport, therefore causing a lot of drama. Let's take a look at the video first.
So, the allegations of what has happened between Airpeace, so it's really Airpeace versus Senator Adams Oshomole, and they've both given different sides of the story. Airpeace has called out Senator Adams Oshomole for coming late to the airport and trying to stop the 6:30 flight from going because he's late. And because they refused to stop the flight for him, that he made an issue out of it. This is the press release they put out. They said Airpeace strongly condemns the unruly conduct of a prominent Nigerian politician, his name wasn't mentioned, who disrupted airport operations on the morning of Wednesday, June 11, 2025. The prominent individual in question arrived at Murtala Mohammed Airport Terminal 1 Zulu Hall at approximately 6:10 a.m. for flight Peace 47120, scheduled to depart Lagos for Abuja at 6:30 a.m. in line with our standard on-time departure policy. The boarding process had closed and the flight departed as scheduled. Upon being informed of the missed flight, the politician resorted to violence, physically assaulting our staff and forcefully barricading the terminal's entrance. He went as far as sealing the entry gate and manning the access point, effectively obstructing other passengers from gaining entry into the terminal. This unacceptable behavior caused significant disruption to ongoing operations and affected numerous travelers scheduled for various flights. It's a two-page document, and they just basically, in the second one, say that they stand for peace, discipline, integrity, and they urge guests to remain civil and cooperative at all times. Now, Senator Adams Oshomole reacted to this as well. So I believe we have Senator Adams Oshomole's reaction, of course.
Yeah, I mean, while we're trying to get that video, he did react. He downplayed this statement made by Airpeace and then went ahead to give his own side of the story. But hopefully, before we get that footage, the bottom line is, if we're to weigh everything from back to back, many have said, or, reactions have come out from what every single person on ground had seen. And the reaction simply is, could this have been an abuse of power? Because the clarity in terms of the entire story is that the plane was scheduled to leave at a certain time. And let's be honest, we know that many of us have had issues with Airpeace in terms of leaving on time. Sometimes there is a reschedule, there's postponement of flights, and that gets people a bit worried. But in this case, they said it was time, and they left on time. But I guess he missed his flight, that's what the story is saying, and even those on ground also agreed to that it seems like he missed his flight. But on doing that, he felt, oh, listen, I need to ground any further operations until I'm able to leave. But this has also been denied by Senator Oshomole.
So Oshomole has also made certain allegations. He's claimed that Epi staff were extorting passengers. He claimed that they had an overbooked flight, and which is what Epis had come out to debunk. There was another message they put out there. They said our attention has been drawn to the deliberate falsehood being peddled by Senator Adams Oshomole against Epis. The senator lied blatantly when he accused Epis of extorting its passengers. We challenged Senator Oshomole to bring one evidence of a passenger that was extorted. None of our staff was ever extorted any passenger. In fact, no ticket was sold after the closure of check-in on that flight. Everyone who flew bought their ticket prior to the flight closure. Again, our flight was never overbooked, as some of his videos alleged. In fact, the aircraft took off with over 30 empty seats. It would have been in our interest to carry Oshomole and those others who missed their flights for lateness on this flight, instead of flying many empty seats. But we will never sacrifice our strict on-time performance for monetary gains. It's absolutely false that he was also offered preferential treatment and that he was fighting for others. I really wish we could play his video so we can hear his own side. Senator Oshomole was not fighting for anyone, the press release says. He came to the airport late and was told that he was late. He then began to foment trouble. He jumped on the baggage conveyor belt, preventing the check-in process of other flights. He also barricaded the entrance gate and prevented access to the terminal. While he was doing all this, he also deliberately instigated other passengers against the airline. We call on the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria to release the CCTV footage coverage starting from the time Senator Oshomole entered the airport for Nigerians to see. His accusation of extortion is very defamatory. His conduct was very violent, unbecoming, unfortunate, and above all, shameful. So, this is really it's like a case of two fighting, as we say here in Nigeria. They have, I think, what will settle this matter true. Federal Airport Authority. Do
you think they will release
They should release the CCTV.
Do you think they will
They
release
should.
the
Not do I think.
Do you think they will?
I don't know. I don't know what I think.
This is where
I doubt that they will, to be honest. So they don't stoke the fire of what is happening.
We can't be the judge and the jury here, and I like what is going on. What we've done is, at least in clear terms of explaining what happened, we've been able to talk about both sides. This is what happened from Adams Oshomole, and this is what happened from Air Peace. Air Peace, surprisingly, had done 2 statement releases. That's fine. But I think to settle this, Olive, FAN just needs to put out the video.
I don't think that's all. I don't know that they will, because it might be stoking the fires of the current situation.
But what would sort this issue is if the true clip or the true footage is put out there, so the Nigerians will see for themselves and say, oh, okay, this is what happened. Or better still, what we would see at the end, let me predict. It will be a closed door settlement at the end of the day. Where I'm sure if they play the video and they have the EPI's rep, or better still, the boss seated, and the Senator Oshomole seated, and the video shows that the fault may have come from Senator Oshomole's side or either side, better still, they just have to shake hands and move on. But we must not neglect the fact that nobody has the power. Nobody has the power to carry out such act. And why do I say so? We've seen senators, in quotes, in the UK who use public transport, trains, and all that, but we've never seen them go all out and so on. And surprisingly, Senator Adams Oshomole understands the law very well. So all he needed to do was just ensure, okay, you guys, if they did anything wrong to him, okay, that's fine. You take it and then you sue. But again, let's not forget that Senator Adams Oshomole, Aluta, is still the body, whether you like it or not. So in as much as he was trying to control, I can imagine him trying to come. He said, no, come on. I fought for these things now.
Okay, Nigerians, of course, have taken to social media to air their thoughts about this, so let's take a few reactions to what happened at the airport. Our first tweet next is from Admax. It says, 2 statements can be true. Oshomole arrived at the airport late, and Airpeace staff or conniving house sold last-minute tickets. Airpeace talking about strict on-time performance is laughable. Airpeace don't have the reputation of their flights leaving on time. Admax. Dewdrop says, The government needs to withdraw AirPieces license. Igbos can't run any business that is more than a shop where you sell little fake things to people. They are extremely incompetent. Who is this person?
I don't agree with this person.
Who is this person?
And it's quite a lengthy
let me finish reading. I want to believe that it's sarcasm. They are extremely incompetent and disorganized. I'm sure you guys have heard that Adams Oshomole disrupted services at the terminal. That was what AirPiece said, and Igbos are spreading. Turned out AirPiece's ticket cost 150-something thousand naira online. But when people got to the airport to board the plane, they denied the people who bought the tickets online and came with their boarding passes and were selling out the same tickets for 250,000 to people without reservation who just came to the airport. When someone saw it was Oshomole, he now told the rest, and they quickly went to call the manager, who now wanted to put Oshomole on the flight. But Comrade Oshomole said he didn't need personal favors. He said you can't be scamming people and treat clients badly. He reported to the Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, immediately, and the DSS boss at the airport. At FKMO, please make sure AirPieces license gets withdrawn ASAP. Their services are crap, and the treat clients really reported cases of tribalism and incompetence and now outright fraud. Ground AirPiece and find them heavily now. Before we take the other tweets, just to respond to what that lady said, Dewdrop, I want to quickly respond to that. Yeah. You can disagree with how a business is run. You can disagree with a business model, but what is not right is to then generalize and tribalize. You know, in a world, in a country where we're struggling with the effects of tribalism, we saw how greatly divided we were along ethnic and religious lines during the last elections. Please, let's put up that tweet again. Like the first two lines really just, they just threw me off.
Zero.
How do you say the government needs to withdraw AirPieces license? I mean, that's your opinion. You're well within your rights to say that. Then you go on to say, Igbos can't run any business that is more than a shop where you sell little fake things to people. They are extremely incompetent and organized. You drop Oyin Atibode needs, you know, these are the kind of people, when we talked about
cleansing,
people that are fostering division along ethnic lines. You can state your point without having to say that that was terrible, that was done in bad taste, and, you know, that is definitely a tweet that should not be up. It's done in bad taste. And
I'm happy we brought it up so that we can address it.
It's done in bad taste. It's really done in bad taste. We can't, Igbos are as much Nigerians as any other tribe, as the Yorubas, as the Hausas, as the Galas. Igbos are as much Nigerians as any of these people. That was a very terrible, disrespectful tweet to Igbo people and should be brought down. Let's take a few more tweets regarding the subject matter. Mezi Abia says, Oshomole can shut down an airport because he lost his flight, but can't shut down the National Assembly where they're receiving exorbitant allowances while Nigerians groan. Oshomole cannot shut down Nassau Rock where the murder of all ceilings on earth is happening every day, every passing day. One thing you have to remark about the criminal politicians in Nigeria is they cannot take 1% of what they dish out to Nigerians every day. And we have other tweets. Oshomole can lie for Africa. If Nigeria was a working country, the airport security would have arrested him. He wouldn't try this rubbish even in a neighboring West African country, let alone in Europe. His name would have been sorry. Watch how the APC government will cover it up. Yeah. Another tweet. Okay,
I mean,
I think that's all that we can
pretty
take
much.
for now.
We still have more, but because of time, we'll not be able to go through all the tweets. But then again, like I said, the only way we can put this coincidence, this fracas, what would you call it again, imbroglio, all the English you want to bring together, is to ensure that there's just a way to settle it. Possibly, like I've said, it will be settled behind closed doors, but it will not do justice to the viewing eyes, to the Nigerians who have a say on the story. I also foresee that the Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, will possibly come out and speak. And I also would like to implore him to possibly have a press conference on this. One would say, why would you have a press conference? It is because you need to sanitize the situation of things. Guess what? If a sitting senator has done this, then it has given credence to every other person to do the same. We've seen, forgive me to use the word ordinary. Most times I don't like using that word ordinary Nigerians because I believe we're all Nigerians. You just have a service to offer, to give to other Nigerians. So you're not more bigger than every other Nigerian.
No Nigerian is more Nigerian
than Nigeria itself. So therefore, because you are a senator, whether you like it or not, first, you are a Nigerian. And you are there because you are there to serve. But we know what happens when, what we've seen, when people get there, they forget that they are there to serve, but rather they are there to, you know, Anyway, let's move on.
I would say that there needs to be proper investigation. There are two claims. EPIS has their claim. Senator Adams Oshomole has their claim. Exactly. A video would really solve a lot of this. But I would say that if EPIS is at fault, if truly they were selling last-minute tickets and there was duplicity of ticket sales, I hope that that is investigated, exposed, uncovered, and punished, because that is not legal, right? It's taking advantage of Nigerians, extorting and exploiting Nigerians. If truly they were going to give him preferential treatment in all of this, I hope that is investigated. If also Senator Adams Oshomole got there late and tried to make a scene out of this, that should also be investigated, and that is even, it should attract the penalty of saying you're not allowed to fly this airline for another couple of months or whatever. There should be some measure of punishment, because when people act out on airlines, we hear stories in the West where they will say this person has been banned from flying so and so airline.
What country are we in again?
That's what I'm saying, that we need to put punitive measures, right, to ensure that certain things like this don't happen. All I'm saying is investigation needs to be carried out. Whoever is at fault needs to be punished. And if we find out that at the end of the day, if we find out that Senator Adams Oshomole lied and defamed EPIS, it is hoped that EPIS will go to court and sue. And if we find out that EPIS was the one that defamed Senator Adams Oshomole, then Senator Adams Oshomole should go to the court and sue.
What I'm saying, the damages will be huge.
Sorry?
It's going to be huge.
Oh yes. What I'm saying is that at the end of the day, we need either way, both this situation will correct something. Either to teach Nigerians that you're not more important than any other person, or to teach Nigerians as well that we do not entertain bribery, fraud, or any form of preferential treatment, because both their arguments, there's no smoke without fire. One of the arguments is true. We just don't know which.
I like the way you said it. And bottom line for me with what we've seen here is it also teaches service, the importance of service. Service in terms of, from the senator's side, you are there to serve the people. In quotes, you'll be held accountable on how you disseminate, how you share, how you put this service out there to people. So everybody is watching. On the side of air peace, it will also be clear if your service is actually what you have actually talked about. Like we've seen in the press releases that we're always on time. We're always doing this. So it's going to be clear when this investigation takes place.
Your claim will be put on a scale. For example, if you say you're on time, reputation,
and it should help
Nigerians will respond to that and say, are you really being on time? There's going to be a scale to weigh the weight of the allegations.
Definitely there will.
Okay, I think it's time for us to touch briefly on the president's speech yesterday. Very interesting points were highlighted. You know, he's going to make certain areas sexy. Was that? Okay. No, they made a lot of
AI.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we have videos of the presidential.
I thought it was cool. He's trying to connect to the Gen Zs and trying to connect with
And then the reactions got me laughing my heart out.
Because I didn't watch it live, right? So
let's see if we have clips of some of the things.
No, but the one, I think it was about the chaos in the PDP. He's put to rest the argument about one-party state, and everybody saying that there's going to be a one-party state. But there was something he said about the opposition. I don't know. I believe that's the clip we have. Let's take a look at it.
A one-party state is not in the oven, nor should it ever be. That said, we would be guilty of political malpractice if we close our door on those from other parties who now seek to join the APC. I sincerely welcome our party's newest members from Delta and Akwa Ibom states, led by Governor Sheriff Obowe and Pastor Umoeno and other national members of this respected National Assembly. You are all welcome to the progressive fold. Nobody should close the door. Political parties fearful of members leaving may be better served by examining their internal processes and affairs rather than fearfully conjuring up demons that do not exist. For me, I would not say try your best to put your house in order. I will not help you to do so either. It is indeed a pleasure to witness you in such a disarray. We are making agriculture more sexy by providing tractors. And I ask you, the legislature, to join me as we enter the second half of our term to put forth innovative legislation that further encourages industrial development and job creation in our urban centers, while also drafting laws that improve.
First of all, I must
I can't even lie.
I must say this. I enjoyed that speech.
I can't even lie.
Enjoyed it.
If you see truth, may we dey talk.
Make we talk.
I can't
enjoyed
even
the
lie.
speech. And I like the fact that one thing that I like, I mean, if you are also one who speaks regularly, and then you've seen global speakers, especially presidents, you would notice one thing about this speech. It was personalized. And that's it. That's what I liked about it. But then again, another thing that got me cracking, like we were laughing here, was that he he talked about the opposition party, and
he said, for me, I would not say try your best to put your house in order. I will not help you do so.
Exactly.
It is indeed a pleasure to witness you in such disarray. Wow.
And that should lay to rest, even though he's saying that he would not support a one-party state, because everyone has said that he's a Democrat himself. And that should lay to rest all these speculations of, PDP, NMPP, LP. The president now has come out in clear view or eyes of everyone and say, listen, fix your house. If you fix your house, do what you have to do. So nobody should come out and say, hey, the president is the one trying to put molds. And then he also made it clear that if they want to leave your party and come to our party, we will welcome them. After all, it's not going to be politics or democracy if we don't welcome them. But
we'll be talking about it deeper,
Yeah, we'll talk about it deeper. And then the sexy agriculture speech.
We're making agriculture sexy again.
I don't know if we have one tweet before we go from the reaction.
Let's take one or two reactions. Sexy agriculture, sexy tractors, Love it.
Oh my goodness. Sexy agriculture, sexy. Anyway, that's all. Let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up. Thank you so much. Nigeria is the first country to have a sexy agricultural system.
So just to tell you,
look at this.
if you go, no more BBL and body enhancement, sexy food to the rescue. Came on. Now, if you Google the dictionary definition of sexy, the first definition is sexually attractive or exciting. However, the informal definition of sexy is very exciting or appealing. So what he's saying is he's going to make agriculture very exciting or appealing. He just chose a very interesting language to catch your attention, because he knows that you people like to, you like certain words, certain buzzwords will make you do a double take. So yeah, that's exactly what happened.
So like sexy corn, sexy vegetables.
Yeah.
Sexy carrots.
Haven't you looked at food? I'm like, man, this food is sexy.
Guys, let's bring you the top stories for today.
Yeah, top stories.
It's the sexy top stories. Sexy top stories. Sexy headlines.
Please, I'm not there when
you just read something now that it means very exciting.
Okay.
Exciting headlines.
All right, let's
today
take
on
the top
Breakfast
story.
on a Friday. Sexy at that. All right, that's what we're going to look at.
Okay. I should probably also check on YouTube, because we're streaming live on YouTube. To mention that you can stream with us and drop your comments on YouTube at News Central.
Drop your sexy comments.
What's your own? Are we going to do show today?
No, you understand?
Okay, all right.
Let's
look at the sexy top stories.
Yeah. Today on Breakfast Central, President Tinubu addresses Joint National Assembly. We'll go further and look at some of the points that we can take from that speech. President Tinubu speaks on one-party state, denying that it's not going to happen, tells them fix your house, but he enjoys the disunity, by the way. Environmental safety in Niger Delta, we'll look at it from 1999. And youth groups walk in support of president. There's a deeper story into this about them not collecting money, and a little fight erupted. Find out more. Plus, you can join us on the front pages, all here on Breakfast Central. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. Nigeria's Niger Delta region is one that is rich in resources, but yet plagued by environmental degradation. Oil spills, gas flaring, illegal refining, and inadequate cleanup efforts have been ongoing battles at the dawn of democracy in Nigeria. Well, the Niger Delta was already suffering from decades of oil pollution, abandoned cleanup promises, and growing frustration among local communities. Critics argue that while billions were budgeted for environmental remediation, corruption and mismanagement hindered real progress. Oil spills continued, communities suffered, and health crisis worsened. Then came UNEP's report on Ogoni land, alarming revelation of contamination levels in water bodies, soil, and air. The remediation efforts, well, slow, inconsistent, and overshadowed by political bottlenecks. The Tinubu-led administration has pledged tighter regulations and stronger enforcement of environmental policies. But are these promises actually translating to action? Well, joining us further to discuss this is energy consultant, energy and petroleum economist. We do have Mr. Lucky Hiota. Thank you so much for being here this morning on Breakfast Central.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me. Thank you, viewers.
Let's start off first with a quick breakdown of the level of environmental impact of oil spills since 1999. Nigeria just celebrated 26 years of democracy. And in 26 years, Nigeria has been battling this seemingly nagging problem that's faced with oil spillage and the like. So can you give us a breakdown of the level of environmental impact so far so good from 1999 up until today, which marks 26 years?
Okay, thank you very much. Before I move forward, I want to first of all give my commendation, which I believe may as well be the position of a lot of Niger Delta people yesterday, running into this morning, when the president, in that is the most Democracy Day speech at the National Assembly, decided to give a pardon to the Ogoni 9, including our illustrious leader, Ken Saro-Wiwa of blessed memory, although there was no need for his execution because he was doing what he should be doing at the time, not until that military dictatorship led by the late General Sani Abacha committed that sad crime against humanity, against the Ogoni people on November 10th, that Black Friday, 1995. So 30 years on, President Tinubu came out bold and strongly yesterday to rewrite history, and to correct an anomaly that we have lived with over the last 30 years. So I commend the president, and I'm somewhat also pleased that we are beginning to think rightly, not just granted them state pardon. He also seized the opportunity to also give him a national honor, a posthumous national honor, alongside some other pro-democracy activists in the lives of Professor Wole Soyinka, Femi Falana, Franco Correa, blessed memory, a retinue of them yesterday. So that said, like you said, 1999 to date, our environmental outlook and what it has been so far is neither here nor there. As energy economist and also environmental sustainability protagonist, we've always queried the way and manner we've allowed our environment to be this degraded. Even before some of us were born in the early 80s, the exploitation and exploration oil and gas in our region, the Niger Delta, have taken a toll, a very huge toll on the region. And government policies and intent by way of mitigating some of this environmental degradation and environmental harm to the region have not actually paid over yet expected results. So if you ask me, we say we are not actually where we had hoped to be. It's a work in progress, and I want to believe that the government has got to step up its guard, and also the operators in the region, that is the oil companies. Now we have them local. We have them both locally. We have local firms, the IOCs that have been here for over 60 years should also try to step up their game, so that we can achieve our environmental expectation for the region. I think that's where I will end it for now until you ask other questions.
All right. Let's. Thanks for taking us through. Your thoughts on the president's decision yesterday, especially to honor the late, activist, pro-democracy activist. But we'll come to that. I want us to look at the creation of the Niger Delta Development Commission. What would you say its impact has been since 1999 up until now? I remember just not too long ago, a few years ago, you did have people come out from the Niger Delta to state clearly that they haven't seen the benefits, especially of having what Nigeria is blessed with, which is the natural resources, oil and gas, because it's not really translating to every single livelihood of the Niger Deltans. So take us through what you think the Niger Delta Development Commission has done in the past in the past years. And what do you think is lacking so that the people can start to benefit from the dividends of what we call the natural resources Nigeria has been blessed with in the Niger Delta?
Well, thank you very much. Very good question. The Niger Delta is a product of necessity, as it was then around 2001, 2002, when the former President Olusegun Obasanjo bought into agitations from the region in terms of giving back to the region. That the region have been the goals that have laid the golden egg for our country, and is the feeding bottle of the country, and a lot have been sapped of the region, and the region need to be developed, and the environment need to be properly realigned, and that led to the establishment of the NDDC Act in 2001, 2002. And for like 22, 23 years now, the interventionist agency, to my mind, have not actually lived up to its bidding, because a lot of trillions have been pumped in there. It's beginning to look like more of a political patronage agency. It's more like a cash cow for those that have been given the opportunity to manage. And it's so unfortunate that the place have been managed by Niger Deltans, citizens from the region. I don't know why each time people find themselves in place of authority, they hardly give what they tend to say when they are not in position. The Niger Delta haven't fed well, given the amount of money that have been devoted into its operations. If you ask me, it's not something to share. What I think they should be doing is to put the region first, just like we have a far cry in Nigeria, where we have people in authority not putting nation first. I don't think the people that have been managing that commission have actually understood the reason why that interventionist agency was created. When I say understood, it's not a question of mere rhetorical understanding. It's a deep sense of the intendment, the honest intendment of that fight. Like we say in our local parlance, that we are man for the work, man for the shop. That you will shop does not mean you will not work. We have to be very thorough. We have to be sincere. There should be sincerity of purpose to those that are from those that are manning that facility. It's no longer a question of say, okay, they are bringing people from other regions, like we have in the case of the larger Nigeria, where you say, okay, Niger Delta people have not been given their fair deal in terms of political patronage. In this same country, we've had the opportunity of producing a president that's from the Niger Delta. So it's not a question of having our own people manning the place. Although with the act, we still have people from other regions, they're making up the board to represent other regions by way of a federal character and accommodating other regions of the country. But to me, if you ask me, I fear no foe. I'll say it as it is. The Niger Delta Development Commission, that is the NDDC, has not fared well, and more needs to be done, and our people should learn to put the region first rather than owning big houses, buying big cars, and moving with all manner of security apparatus.
Mr. Yota,
the environment is in dire need of remediation. You've seen what has happened in Ogoni, even before Shell had issues with them. You saw the UNEP report. Till today, it has not been implemented. And the NDDC have been so political. You saw the last guy in the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, who happens to be the Senate President now. With all due respect to him, I'm not trying to denigrate this person. He didn't do well. He turned that plane into something else. He was just changing MDs upon MDs back and forth. Not until recently, when the president established this substantive board now that have been there for close to 2 years. That place have been back and forth with leadership exchange. So it's a question of people wanting people there to do their bidding, not actually to do the bidding of the region or collective interest in the region.
So, in other words, are we saying that the current Senate President was also known to have been saddled with the responsibility of managing the affairs? And would you say his time, he didn't also do well? I mean, we all recall the story of the assembly inviting for further, finding out what really happened to the funds and so on and so forth. And remember the fainting incidents and so on and so forth. So would you say that all who have been in charge of the NDDC have not done well in the past years?
You saw when the Senate President was manning the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, I came with his carried-like forensic audit. What came out of the audit? Ask yourself. Consultants came all out and spoke truth to power, that the whole thing was just a charade, was a child's play. The former President Muhammadu Buhari was just deceived. He was deceived into that voyage of pumping money for audits that didn't bring out anything. Even the recent quarrel between Senator Natasha and the Senate President revealed some of the underlying facts around that forensic audit that the Senate President masterminded. Then you saw when some things were coming up of how cronies and friends and associates, they're being used as proxies to do things that are not necessarily geared towards unraveling truth and facts that will give a very clear narration of the invoices and transactions that have happened there in the years before he came on board. So I don't want to make this discussion a discussion around the Senate president. Were there before he came, even before the creation of the Ministry of the Niger Delta Affairs. People have come as chairman of the commission, reporting to the presidency. You know, the presidency is directly captured in the act to supervise the commission, not necessarily the minister. So it is born out of these are politics of transaction. These are transactional politics things that made ministers of the Niger Delta begin to feel incorporated in the act. And they are mere messengers by the president to, on behalf of the president, look and give feedback of what is happening there. But trust Nigeria, you know, when you give them a yard, they will try to make more than 10, 50, 100 yards out of it. So it's not a discussion for the Senate president. It's a question of doing the needful. Are people moving away from this transactional mindset to transformational leadership? This we are going to continue to push for our region, that we've got to transform our mind, to transform the region, to transform our environment. The energy need of the world is doubling up every day. The numbers are increasing. There's energy poverty everywhere, and so we need more energy. And the energy that is highly likely for us in Nigeria is the crude, is the oil and gas. And it is largely found in the region, and they will continue to explore because fossil ain't going anywhere soon. So we must brace up for the task ahead so that our environment can be conserved for generations to come. There's climate change issue all over the place. There's issues around flooding all over the place. You saw the last one that happened in Niger. Was it at Mokwa? That one is even far away Niger. You saw floods that have happened in 2012. The one that happened 2 years ago, even in the region, the Port Harcourt Road was impassable. There is the East-West Road now from Warri leading to Port Harcourt. So we have an array of issues, challenges, and that is why we must give it to the NNPC for also deeming it fit to incorporate some of these local security companies like Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited, Tantita, and the project monitoring people that have been part and parcel of safeguarding the environment by way of safeguarding the national assets. You know, the poverty in the region is so rife to the extent that younger and unemployed people delve into bunkering, delve into oil theft. And
therein lies the concern. You know, therein lies the concern. You talk about how there are high levels of poverty and that we need to move away from a transactional mindset. How do we find that sort of divide between moving away from a transactional mindset when people are grappling with strong levels of poverty? And then what will that moving away from a transactional mindset look like? What approach can be taken to ensure the renewing of the minds of our people, to ensure that they're not involving themselves in activities that would jeopardize the environment?
Look, the cultivation, we have to start from families. We've got to start teaching our children how to do things that will benefit the society, how to be cultured, teach our children principles, values, because the life of every human being starts from the family circle. Our family values have been eroded for want of unnecessary wealth. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry want to own big houses, want to drive big cars. We should teach our children contentment. That's the only way we can transform their mind. There's nothing extraordinary about Europe. What is happening in Europe, North America, or Asia? It's just a question of people getting to agree to themselves that they have to make their society a better place that will work for everybody. Humanity in our country is so religious, highly religious. We're predominantly Christians and Muslims. And what is religion if not for humanity? And what is humanity? Humanity is ensuring that everybody have that sense of belonging. everybody have that sense of human being, of a human being. Now, if we teach our children values, certainly there's no way they will grow up deviating from those values. If you take your mind back to when some of us were growing up, we were being cautioned by our parents. Some of us were taken to churches, mosques, and what have you. Even for those traditionalists, they were also very morally conscious. But morality has been so eroded in our society because we place too much value and premium on money. On money, we must de-emphasize needless monies and wealth. We ain't going to live here beyond 100, beyond 90, 120, the most 150. You won't be here forever. Why this acquisition of needless wealth? This aggrandizement. Aggrandizement is a challenge. Niger Delta could have been somewhere like Rotterdam, or maybe Texas, Houston, Dallas. Yeah, we have the crisscrossing of bridges all over the place. Look at
Absolutely. I mean, you really hit the nail on the head, talking about how parents also need to start. We need to start from the home front, understanding what our value system are, and just basically understanding that nobody's going to leave this world alive. Thank you so much, Lucky Iweyota, for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
Now, as the nation marks the 2025 Democracy Day, several youth groups in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, have thrown their weight behind President Bola Tinubu, saying that he has done well for the country. Some of them marched on the streets of the capital in show of support, commending the president for integrating youths into governance and for several initiatives that has empowered Nigerian youths. Our correspondent, Idong Joseph, reports.
Ahead of the Democracy Day celebration, there was apprehension in the air as threat of a showdown with government by aggrieved citizens has dominated the airwaves. This, however, did not go down well with all, as some youth called for caution and understanding.
We condemn protests for the time being until the nation is ripe and set enough to accommodate peaceful and constructive protests. Otherwise, there are so many means of getting our informations and our grievances passed to government.
For we as young people, it is our desire to inherit a very stable system of government, a very stable system of democracy. And so for any attempt to turn our democracy into crisis tomorrow, as young people, it will be resisted.
2 years is not enough to judge any person. He is doing well, and we'll be there tomorrow to do a solidarity walk. Whoever comes to the street to disrupt it will face the brunt. We are out for it.
As the day commenced, several groups were seen on the streets of the capital, all in support of the president. They say President Bola Tinubu has performed exceptionally well and deserves commendation. Thus the reason for the rally.
We have come together on our own to show solidarity, to set the agenda that this president has done so much for us. We know we are not here where we're supposed to be yet, but we are not where we were.
We are not the youth that burns tire. We are the youth that thinks and do. We know there is nowhere you can go to in this country, anywhere in the world. The youth of this country are hardworking. Yeah. They just need a little tips to make things work. And that is what we are driving at.
It is worthy to note that since the inception of democracy, he is the president that has invested much in education. That is why we are gathered here today as polytechnic students to appreciate him and say to him, Adukpe, Mr. President, for your investment in education.
Despite threats of protest, Abuja was unreasonably calm. While many see this action as an endorsement of the president's performance, others believe that there is still much room for more efforts. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
Today conversations, and we'll be having some of that here in the studio. But now, let's share what's coming up next. Coming up next on Breakfast Central, President Tinubu addresses Joint National Assembly, or Joint Assembly. President Tinubu speaks on one-party state in his Joint Assembly address, and we'll analyze that this morning. Edo Governor urges renewed commitment.
Following activities that marked Nigeria's June 12 Democracy Day celebrations yesterday, and reactions are indeed pouring in after President Bola Tinubu's address to the joint sitting of the National Assembly. From strong affirmations of democratic values to his sharp critique of the opposition, the president didn't hold back as he reaffirmed his commitment to democracy while dismissing fears of a one-party state as mere panic alarms.
What his remarks on the opposition? Well, let's just say they've sparked debates across political circles. The president made it clear Nigeria's democracy is here to stay. He emphasized that democratic governance is non-negotiable. Now, joining us to react to this is public affairs analyst Biodun Shomumi, and also joining us is the former national chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, and member of the Board of Trustees Labour Party, Chief Peter Ame. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So I will start with Mr. Shomumi to ask, and this question I'm posing to the both of you, the speech in itself. Do you think that the speech captured the essence of democracy, and would you say that there are any parts that stand out for you particularly? Start with Mr. Shomumi and then we'll go to Chief Ame.
Well, yeah, I think I would rather look at how the whole thing has been structured first, which is one, we really need to note one thing, which is the fact that the president chose to use Democracy Day, strictly on political issues, while at the same time probably reserving issues of other national interest like poverty, development, social vices, insurgency, security issues, for his October 1st national address. And I think this has been carefully crafted, including the role of the National Assembly in all this, to ensure that it's strictly on issue of democracy. Now, on his assurance that Nigeria is not drifting towards one-party state, well, I would tend to agree with him, because it's almost impossible given the number of, given the different ethnic groups in Nigeria. You're talking about, over 300 ethnic groups, over 250 distinctive languages. So I cannot see how we will easily become a one-party state. What we're likely going to see is that at one point or the other, politicians will play their own role in all this. They will jostle and hustle and try and present things in their own interest. Those who are the campaign currently, this is not the first time. We've been having carpet crossing. Even in the 60s, we had carpet crossing. We don't call it the camping then, they call it carpet crossing. Now, what you see is that the nature of the carpet crossing at that time, differed completely from now. Now it's about personal interest. Then it was purely on ideological issues. So for me, there is the real risk of democracy, disappearing or having one party rule in Nigeria is almost impossible. There was a time the PDP boasted as the biggest party in Africa. They would rule, for 50 years. I remember those boasts. But what happened? We were out of the place. So I think the same thing will follow the natural law of progression. So therefore, the risk of one-party state in Nigeria is not there. Now, the other issue that caught my attention is those who were honored, either posthumously or who are still alive. Yes, I would applaud the president for recognizing his colleagues who fought with him. Some of his colleagues, many people were missing. There's a particular name which I felt should not be there, which is Dr. Onogorua, because when we were fighting the struggle, Dr. Onogorua joined Abacha, as his Attorney General. And for me, I don't think that's sensitive or that's appropriate. There are so many people that played major roles on the field. We don't just talk about the politicians. There were those who mobilized the international opinion. There were our colleagues who we worked with to ensure that Nigeria was sanctioned. Some of them were non-Nigerians. I remember people like Lord Avery, like Jeremy Corbyn, the former immediate past Labour leader, people like Harriet Harman, and we cannot just suddenly, Sir Macmillan Scott, member of European Parliament, we cannot just suddenly, ignore or forget them when in reality our task will have been difficult or almost impossible. There's Yinka Odumaki, Professor Sylvester Odion, I can start counting.
We'll go through that list shortly, right? But before we get into the meat of what the speech said, the same question I asked you, I'm going to ask Chief Amir as well. Chief Amir, do you think that speech captured the essence of democracy from, your observation, and were there particular things that stood out for you? After that, then we'll start to go into the meat of the speech.
I think for me it's about we have democracy to something like an halo ritual, something that of a symbolism that we just need to just come and read speeches and go. Because for me, what the president said about one party state not being, he was not interested in Nigeria becoming one party, and what he said afterwards, it shows that he's aware of the crisis rocking opposition political parties in Nigeria. Because people talk about one party state not being attainable. I've been in party politics for 22 years. I've had several positions, and I know that when you want to frustrate political party, you don't have to see the president hand, obviously. Because if the president says he's happy that they are in disarray, it is not something that comes from somebody who have actually participated in the struggle for democratic governance. Because the democracy is about the ability to create a similar environment to show that people have the right to belong to a political party, a trade union, or association where their interest is protected as enshrined in Section 40. So we can't have a situation where the commander-in-chief, because his body language is involved in a lot of appointments, body language means a lot of things, and so he's happy. You can't have a situation where, since we got into this Fourth Republic, even during the time the current president was in opposition, there is more than 3 parties in their life, moving from one to the other. But they had the freedom to do so. As I speak today, there's an embargo on party registration with INEC, which is against the fundamental principles of democratic practice, which is against that management that people must belong to wherever they will have interest. So it's like say something and mean something else. I see it as double speak. I've about the fact that what they did yesterday was selective generosity, because my brother in the studio and listed people I know participated greatly in this struggle. Even Dele Momodu, if I don't know if I agree with my friend, so he did his own part. A lot of people. So I see it as a selective process or playing politics with the process of trying to create a proper environment that shows that Nigeria is in the democracy that speaks for all. So we have a situation where the president have come to the Alo chamber, and they have made it more of a politics. I think the National Assembly must try to retrace its step. Because when you have a president at the joint sitting of the National Assembly, it's the president for both the opposition parties that are there, both the ruling parties that are there. You don't go singing on your mandate, we shall stand. We are in a democracy, and the voice of the electorate determines the outcome of any electoral election, any election we have. The June 12th struggle has been manned by power grab, authoritarianism, and a lot of other issues. Because yesterday, when the president who was elected to follow the democracy and the constitution as enshrined, in Section 308, that you want to declare state of emergency in any state, you can go ahead and declare it and put in more soldiers, put it to secure the place, but not to overthrow the legitimacy of giving to the people of the state, to the governor and the state house of assembly. Yesterday was a better chance for him to retrace himself, to reverse the undemocratic decision taken in Rivers State. There was nothing more that we can say. Look at Yar'Adua. When Yar'Adua got into power, he said the system that brought him was not fair, was not credible, and that they will review the process so that Nigerians can have a voice. The president is not tweeting, he's not even showing any attention that is amendable and is interested in the electoral reforms or something that could give us the enabling environment for Nigerians to participate without intimidation, without harassment, without violence, because these are the things that are destroying the spirit and the support that people have given to June 12 all the years. I was in Lagos when June 12 was conducted. I was staying in Yaba. I know how people participated in that process. How that June 12 struggle was not a struggle about being a Yoruba or being an Igala man or being a Tiv man. It was about Nigeria, and even the MK Abiola won in Kanu, won everywhere. So this is what Nigeria should be, where we have a transparent process for election, where people have the freedom to participate in whichever political party they want to. We have a lot of things. We have a lot of friends who say they are going into APC because of promises made to them. So the president must show that truly he wants us to remember him as a Democrat, or not that we must see. It is not about just seeing. Perception plays a greater role in creating a good reality for the president, because the president is even happy and seeing that the opposition political party are in total disarray, and you will not take the hand of INEC out of the action, because INEC is the regulatory body that determines the outcome and the performance and the operation and the organization of political parties in Nigeria.
All right,
and today, we have a situation where...
Chief Ame, we get your point. We just hope that you can make your contributions a bit shorter so we can cover a lot, because we have a lot to cover. So please, kindly help us with shorter responses. I'm going to come back to the studio before I come back to you. But before then, let's take this clip of the president concerning one-party state so that we can lay that to rest. And in my question as a follow-up, I look forward to ask that. Let's take a look at first.
A one-party state is not in the oven, nor shall it ever be. That said, we will be guilty of political malpractice if we close our door on those from other parties who now seek to join the APC. I sincerely welcome our party's newest members from Delta and Akwa Ibom states, led by Governor Sheriff Obowe and Pastor Moheno and other national members of this respected National Assembly. You are all welcome to the progressive fold. Nobody should close the door. Political parties fearful of members leaving may be better served by examining their internal processes and affairs rather than fearfully conjuring up demons that do not exist. For me, I would not say try your best to put your house in order. I will not help you to do so either. It is indeed a pleasure to witness you in such a disarray.
Well, that's a strong speech there. Well, our guest in the studio, Mr. Shome, agrees with the fact that there wouldn't be a one-party state, as the president mentioned. But you, Dr. Chief, I beg your pardon, Ame, you have a different opinion. But my focus, which I want us to look at now, is the fact that yesterday could have been a good opportunity while the president made that speech to equally uphold democracy by speaking on the crisis or the situation in Rivers State. We do have Senator Dixon Seriki, who also spoke yesterday immediately after the president's speech, and he condemned the fact that the president did not uphold the tenets of democracy, where he feels the president could have used the opportunity to recapture, as it were, the interest of Nigerians when it comes to democracy, being a Democrat himself. I'm going to come to the studio first before, hopefully, if you have any addition to this question. Do you think something was amiss yesterday, especially when the president did not address the Rivers issue? Because Rivers, as it were, to some people, did not celebrate Democracy Day yesterday.
Honestly speaking, I don't think so, and for clear reasons. I got a copy of the Supreme Court judgment. Irrespective of those who caused the problems, because both parties, the two factions, created the problem. One demolished the House of Assembly, and the other chose, to impeach, or maybe a reaction to attempts to impeach him. So for me, and the Supreme Court came to the finding that, look, there is no government in Rivers State. Go and read the judgment. Once the Supreme Court says there is no government in Rivers State, and you need to look at how they got to that conclusion. Because Yusuf Ali was representing Rivers State government. They did put in their submission, only to withdraw it at the last minute. And the moment you withdraw the evidence and everything, it means the court will have to rely on the submission of the other party alone, because we have
but we thought that it was in a meeting with the president and the FCT minister that led the governor of Siminalayi Fubara to have withdrawn.
There were about 8 cases, not just one. Rivers State was in a mess. The party in power, PDP, could not put their house together. Now, the Supreme Court found, the highest court in the land, there is no government in this place. What do you do? Is either you allow the situation to degenerate further, or you have to put some form of government in there. What I don't agree with is that the president should be the one to do it. The Constitution makes provision for the National Assembly to take over the functions of the Rivers State House of Assembly, and they will have been better placed. Even if the president wants Ibas, it will have been better and more acceptable to someone like me if it's the National Assembly that does that. Because they have a constitutional role to play when governance breaks down, like what we witnessed in Rivers. So now, the reason why I'm not bothered about the fact that the president didn't address that issue on Democracy Day is because of one thing. If you don't resolve the disagreement between the two arms of government, the executive and the legislature, they will come back with a weakened Fubara now. Fubara is a bit more weakened than before. They will only come back to impeach him. Within a month or 2 months, they will impeach him. That's what many people don't want. I mean, if you look at the public mood in Rivers State, they don't want that. So the fundamental disagreement must be resolved first. If we don't resolve it, and just as a sign of gesture of Democracy Day, you take him back, only for him to be removed in 2 months.
We'll get a reaction from Chief Ame as well, but let's go on this very quick break. When we come back, we'll still be looking at Rivers State and what may or may not have been done differently yesterday. Welcome back to the show. We're still looking at the president's speech and addressing certain key areas. And now our focus is on Rivers State. Chief Peter Ame is still on the conversation. And I want to get your reactions. You heard what Mr. Abiodun Shomi said regarding Rivers State and the expectations many had regarding the president maybe not addressing it in the way that they had hoped. Well, let's get your thoughts on that.
Of the process and want to confuse our audience in them. First of all, the decision of the president to suspend the democratically elected governor and deputy governor and the House of Assembly was undemocratic, unconstitutional, and has no place in our laws, first of all. And if he has done that by removing those who have been elected by the people, June 12th is not a reminder. It's a date for us to know that people came out and our people's right to form a government was upheld. So the fact is that the president did this action to favor his party interest, because the president has no right to dissolve or suspend any elected official across this country. Section 308 gives him power to do emergency government. The National Assembly is talking about only have a right to take over the function of the State House of Assembly, and that will affect Wike and not affect the governor. So this politics is very complex. People will come outside and say one thing and mean another. Let me tell you something. When the Supreme Court took that judgment, the governor had already taken the understanding with the meeting with the FCT minister and the president to withdraw all cases in court and withdraw their own case. So the president in experience, the governor in experience, led to his downfall. So this whole thing that I'm telling you, you cannot trust political actors who are bent on playing to their own interests and weakening the opposition. If you won't get it right, the president would have said yesterday, I was wrong. I'm sorry for this I have done is wrong. Because democracy, they talk about anarchy playing out. Democracy is about contestation of ideas. It's about opinion and counter-opinion. It's about struggle to be able to say in the process a new law will be created, a new way of doing things will be created, not a process that you can hijack by using authoritarianism and authority that is going to undermine the principle of fair play, the principle of participation, the principle of people owning their own government. Because as it seems today, you have put somebody in power as a sole administrator, something that we used to see under military regime. We had the time when the president was governor of Lagos, and all the time he struggled. There was no time the Obasanjo regime has said, oh, you have counted us, the Lagos is ungovernable, we have to suspend this. They never went to the extreme. Even in Lagos, there have been political, Pusha Williams dies. There was no problem. Oh, no, these are the issues we need to say, that in a democracy, we must, no matter how irritating it is, no matter how hard it is, you must allow the process to play out. Because without us contesting our ideas, without us communicating with ourselves, without us having misunderstanding in democracy and having contrary opinion to what you hold, then this is not a democracy. A democracy allows for that. If there's power struggle between his loyalists, the FCT minister, and his former loyalists, to the administrator, the governor, they will allow the process, the power struggle to play out. So we cannot continue to give a back shot to be able to push democracy to where it will not be undermined. Because we are moving towards a four-party state. Somebody talk about we are having something language. It's not about tribe. It's not about ethnicity that form political party. In fact, when you are forming a political party, it's clearly stated that it must not be formed in line with the ethnic coloration. It must not be formed in line with religious association. It must not be formed in line with any of this line. It must be formed and it must be at the center of Nigerian collectivism that is about Nigeria, and it is driven for the purpose of making sure that Nigeria works for every Nigerian wherever they find themselves. So ethnic issue cannot save us from going into one party state. When the umpire and those who have the authority of state use whatever backdoor processes to undermine the principle of fair play. Because if you look at the leaked video that led to the suspension of one of the journalists by the Akwa State governor, say he doesn't even know that he has to stay, he doesn't want to win an election. So that after winning the election, Supreme Court will come and say something else. So people are afraid. If people are afraid in a democracy, that means it's already been undermined. People have spoken to people who have decamped to the APC on the processes of thinking that they will have state power backing them in an election. But the essence of that democracy and the essence of June 12 is to have people's power determining the outcome of an election. It was have the electorate being at the forefront of canvassing and determining who governs them. So if we go outside this, we are undermining the principle of June 12. That all those who have died for, those who are alive today, who are standing very tall, that they fought for democracy, that no longer exists. We cannot continue in this path of selective generosity, selective appreciation, and selective awarding of this thing. But we commend the president. I must say this clearly, especially for the Ogoni 9. You know, they fought for their people, they stood on behalf of their people, and they have gotten the recognition. And that is to show people that if you die for a good cause, if you stand for a good action that will put protection to the life of our people, wherever you stand for them, you'll be recognized even long after the person must have died. So this
thank you, Chief Ame, for sharing your thoughts in that regard. Let's now bring in Mr. Showme into the conversation. I don't know if you have any responses to some of the things that have been said.
It's quite unfortunate that those who are politicians, those who should know better than some of us, play politics with everything rather than looking at issues objectively. We are talking about, I don't know whether Peter, I'm sure maybe he's not aware that a governor went to destroy openly the chambers of the House of Assembly. Where is that done anywhere in the world? I've gone to so many countries in the world. Where is it done apart from Nigeria? That's brazen attack on democracy. And for her to see it, and somebody is not recognizing that aspect, for me, that should never have happened. That's why I blame both parties. It's not one person that caused the problem. Both of them caused the problem. Number two, we forgot the fact that Rivers State was ungovernable at that time. The Supreme Court, had already said there was no government in Rivers State. Number two, they've also found, the courts have also ruled that no allocation should be given to Fubara. It should not be allowed to collect the allocation simply because of the fact that the budget was not approved by the same National Assembly. he had already been spending money in 2024 without approval. Impeachable offense anywhere in any democracy. You must face the truth. The opposition,
there were 3 members of the assembly.
There is no way. Go and read the constitution. And it's quite unfortunate that politicians themselves play politics with everything. The constitution makes provision that not less than a third will constitute a proper House of Assembly, a sitting. And in the case of Rivers, 10. Now, how do you have 3 people constituting a proper House of Assembly? It's almost impossible. You may as well coerce the opposition, bring them in one way or the other, you know, into your fold, but you must be up to 10. So because they were not up to 10, there was no budget, validly passed budget. So no funds will be released, workers will suffer, the state will grant to a halt. Now, of course, how can that be acceptable? So for me, I think we should try and be more, you know, independent in carrying out assessment. I'm not expecting partisan politicians, you know, to do that. But at the same time, I'm not even saying that you know, suspending the governor should be acceptable in democracy. The only problem we have now is that the case is before the Supreme Court. 10 or 11, 10 PDP governors have gone to court, you know, that the court should rule on the legality or illegality of it. Ahmed is already saying it's illegal, as if he knew what the Supreme Court would say. But for me, I would leave it open and say, look, let us wait for the Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court says it's illegal, so be it. You know, if the Supreme Court says it's legal, because there are contexts to issues. It depends on what you take to the court. And if the court says, oh, there is no, we've already found that there is no government in Rivers State, in a situation where there is no government, what then do you do? That would lay a precedent that other future governments will follow. So, I mean, I think this is a good opportunity for us. For me, I don't think the president should have appointed Rivers. I think the president should have allowed the House of Representatives to take over that function, and then the House of Representatives can now either look at the budget with a view to approve it or not approve it, or appoint a sole administrator. I would have been more comfortable with that, because we should not forget one thing. If Fubara was elected, Ibas was not elected, appointed. But on what strength? The fact that Supreme Court said there is no government in Rivers State.
Okay, I want us to come back to another area. Let's move away from Rivers State for a bit and talk about something that might, I mean, some will consider it seemingly trivial, but it has been an issue of discourse over the past few months. It's the collaboration between the executive and the legislature. Now, something as simple as them chanting APC campaign songs for the president. Do you see an issue with that? Do you see an issue where when the president came to present the bill, or when the president comes before the House, you know, you can hear the sounds, the campaign songs of "On Your Mandate We Shall Stand" being sung? Because some people worry that sometimes, I mean, we're not saying that there should be enemies, but the collaboration seems a little too much.
Well, this is the structure we have built. You know, when you build a structure where legislators are playing a role in appointing contractors that will execute constituency projects, you have a problem on your hand. I mean, allegedly, I don't have the figures, I don't have the budget, that a legislator has about provision of 1 billion naira, you know, for constituency projects. Of course, you will sing any song when you know the man to release the money is coming in. You will sing it. That's the truth of the matter. But yes, there's constituency projects in other parts of the world. But you and I know the politics. You won't get your budget approved if you don't dance to their tunes.
But is it supposed to be that way?
It's not supposed to be that way. Absolutely. The problem we have in Nigeria is that we need to go back to parliamentary system. The presidential system of government is so expensive that if you know how much it costs each of those legislators or senators to find themselves in that place, you won't believe it. Some people are selling houses just to get elected. So once they get there, the focus is not on legislative oversight, it's not on drafting bill. The first focus is how do I recoup the money I have spent? And this is the bane of the problem. If we embrace parliamentary democracy rather than presidential democracy, that's a lot better. If you get 20% of the vote, you have 20% members in the National Assembly. If you get 5%, you have it. And so that everybody will be represented. What we're doing currently is the winner carries the whole day. You know, if I win for the 5% in an election and someone else wins, two people scored 55, look, that has a lower figure will end up becoming the overall winner. And then his winner takes all. So in that situation, those 55% who voted for the other two candidates, what happened to their aspirations? They will not be represented at any level. And that is the problem. But when you do parliamentary system of government, everybody will be represented. If you score 45%, you have 45% representation. Yeah. If you score 10%, you have it. So all the voters will be well represented, you know, in the parliament. So this is the problem we have in Nigeria. We have created a structure where it's so expensive to get in there. And when they get in there, the focus is on how do I recoup my investment and prepare for the next election. It means they have to get double the money back. And then, what do you say? If the man that will release the money, because don't forget, budget is an estimate. It does not mean real cash will back it up. And the man that can make real cash to back it up, if he walks into your chambers, what do you do?
Well, I think that question will be left for each person's moral compass and guidance. But Chief Ahmed, what's your take on that, especially when the song was chanted yesterday? And
or played by the instrumentalist, more like.
So about your mandate to stand or what?
What's your take on that?
Yes.
For me, I see people say politician. I discovered that those who claim political analysts and public affairs analysts are more partisan than you see politicians do. Because there's no way you sit down and you agree that a governor with immunity that cannot even be tried by the court of law should be removed by the president who was also elected in the same line with him. So and you can't come to the National Assembly because the National Assembly function is clearly cut out. One is to do oversight function. Two is to be able to make laws for good governance and development of our country, like making sure where there's no security, proper laws and to make that exist. Because even the security that we talk about, the president never talked about it in his speech. And you see people clapping. When you had the major applause for the president was when he said that they are happy that they are in disarray, the position. That's why you had the major applause for the president. So they are missing the point from separating the legislative function from the function of the executive. It is not that you are the same party does not mean you will not do your work. Where we borrow this democracy from, but we have seen people who belong to the party of the president who contest the ideas that are not properly placed, and the ideas that will not represent the interest of the people, the address that will not bring that inflation, the address that will promote hunger. But you discover that these have been meshed together, the executive arm and the legislative arm are now functioning as one. And even those opposition who are there are living in fear. So people don't understand the essence of suppression. Suppression is the fact that when you hold a power and you apply whether through the back door, they have used the apparatus of state to undermine the proper management of a democratic institution, you further undermine our democracy. So what the president yesterday would have talked about our challenges too, would have talked about our inflationary issues too, would have also talked about all these things, and then we see how the reaction of this National Assembly elected persons who are supposed to act as oversight to the president, how their reaction would be. But today what we have is a merger between the two parts. And clearly speaking, the Supreme Court erred when he said there's no government in the state after Fubara has withdrawn his own submission. He also erred because it is the Supreme Court. When the election was over, people went up to the Supreme Court to challenge Fubara's election. As the Supreme Court said clearly that Fubara was duly elected by the people. So you can't probate and reprobate. You can't have a situation where we try to undermine this democracy. Democracy is the best form of governance if it's properly operated, if it's properly managed, if it allows the views of other people to stand. As we speak to you today, none of this court today can try Fubara for any case because he has immunity for the next for the 4 years he was elected to stand. So if the court cannot try him for any crime committed during that time, people talk about the State House of Assembly that was demolished. You are talking that you've not seen, even when Ibas came, Ibas said the State House of Assembly was up to 80% rebuilt. So the videos are in public domain. We can't present anything that is out of the obvious and then try to make it look as if there's something behind that we don't know. The fact is that these all actions, whether the actions of the legislators that are not properly oversighting the actions of the president, whether the action of the president that is riding on the authority because he is the chief commander-in-chief of the armed forces, because he's the chief commander-in-chief of the armed forces, is undermining our constitution and have no contest to it. then we have a situation where, as a responsible citizen, to continue to speak truth to the president and tell him that we cannot, because we feel our party is on a losing side, or we play more politics towards 2027, that, oh, we must have Akwa Ibom, we must have Rivers, we must have Delta. This is we are in South-South. This is not how election democracy is driven. At the end of the day, if we have true democracy, if we have democratic system that will represent our people, that will protect our people to go to the ballot, to vote, and their vote will be counted, these people will only come with their one vote. And despite all this, if you look at 2023 election, the Delta State they are talking about, they had a vice presidential candidate from PDP and lost to Labour Party, the Peter Obi movement, with over 80% in the state. So the people will still determine this our election. I'm not worried at all, but we know that at the end of the day, whatever goes right, we will praise them, like I talk about Kansarua decision. But whatever goes wrong, there's no way you will see us that will come out and come and do on your mandate to assign. It is undemocratic to be singing that in the yellow chamber, to be singing that in the green chamber. It is not right because you have a joint sitting of the National Assembly with opposition and other people in that place. You are supposed to be singing the national anthem. It is the only thing that would have unified that chamber, that meeting of yesterday, the national anthem of our country, to show unity, to show collaboration, and to show understanding that we are in a democratic system.
Okay. I want us to talk about another thing that is a key part of democracy, the right to freedom of speech for people to be able to express dissent when necessary. This administration, some have argued, hasn't been very welcoming of dissent. In the president's speech, I'm going to read some excerpts, says, while malicious slander and libel should not go unattended, no one should bear the brunt of injustice for merely writing a bad report about me or calling me names. Democracy requires a fair degree of tolerance for harsh words and stinging insults. Call me names, call me whatever you will, and I will still call upon democracy to defend your right to do so. Mr. Senate President, Mr. Speaker, distinguished senators, and honorable members. Before that, he had said, do not be afraid to hear an unkind word spoken against you. Some of the best advice a politician gets sometimes comes from his most ferocious opponents. We dare not seek silence because the imposed silence of repressed voices breeds chaos and ill will, not the harmonics of democracy in the long term. And so in this current administration, off the top of my head, I can think of the NYSC core member, Rita O'Shea, who was, hounded because she had criticized the president and said that President Tinubu is a terrible president. There are a number of people, names that we can call, who have spoken, and that, of course, started a chain of a 30-day rant. So who does the blame lie with? I'll start with Mr. Showunmi. If the president is outrightly saying that he's not applauding or encouraging any form of repression when people criticize him or his administration, do you think that this would be enough to prevent a repetition of such situations? Remember the Agbo situation where the First Lady, they sang the Nayo Mama Bidi situation, and then the lady was almost sent out of school and everything. There was a lot of drama that ensued after that. So my question is, do you think that this president's address is enough to ensure that this doesn't happen again? And if it does, where does the responsibility lie? Is it with the law enforcement? Do you think that they would pay attention to this?
Honestly speaking, if you go back to 1999, there's no one, and I stand to be challenged, whether allegations of vices, abuses were made against him, either as a sitting governor, as a sitting president, or that faced legal harassment, even from some of those who actually collaborated with him, and I'm referring to Gani Fawemi, than Bola Tinubu. I'm not a spokesperson, that's the truth. The Tinubu, we all know, tolerates opposition. In some cases, we've seen some instances where I can refer to at least one. That's the Akile issue, the Akile issue, where in Lagos State, when he was the governor, eventually Akile was kicked out of Lagos State civil service. He's dead now. Yes, there will be exceptions like that. The case of the NY Youth Corps, I was in Abuja when that happened, that incident happened, and at the point I engaged the chairman of NYC on this issue, Hilda Etta, we had a discussion around it. The fact is, NYC is a bit regimented. It's not like, it's a kind of paramilitary, the way they're structured, you're expected to conform, to certain discipline. That youth corper was not expected to behave like she did. But you also have other cases of people,
journalists.
Yes, journalists and some few cases like that. They probably may not have taken the cue from Mr. President. There are, sycophants. There are those who would want to, be more religious than the Pope. You have that. Wanting to please the president, yes, we crack down on this. We don't want us to be seen to be doing this. The fact of the matter is, I don't think Tinubu himself would endorse suppression of views. He is not the kind of person who would tolerate that. He expressed his views when he was in opposition. When he was in exile, he was willing against the military. That is part of the freedom of expression. And democracy, recognizes the right of people either to protest or to voice their disagreement about one issue or the other. I know that the social media, is creating a new challenge, for everybody. Look, when you go on social media, things you don't see on conventional media, you see all manners of things, some outrightly lies. Yesterday morning, I was looking at another clip about President Paul Biya of Cameroon, that he was removed through a military coup. I went on BBC, I went on virtually all Nigerian newspapers till today, till this morning. It has not been reported. Yes, we have menaces like that, but that does not mean that even if we have to crack down on lies, but don't crack down on critics. And I think that's the point Mr. President is making. Probably what we need to do is that the National Assembly should ensure that there is a separate organ where citizens can complain and when their rights are being suppressed. Currently, we don't have that. People should have the right, to express themselves.
I mean, you said people should have the rights. We've seen, even during the military era, I mean, the president himself and others who had the posthumous conferment yesterday spoke out.
Absolutely.
And people are worried that if you were able to speak out, why is it that you don't want others to speak out? But let's get your final thoughts, because we're really out of time and we need to run. Your final thoughts on this. Do you toe the same line that silence is the best answer? Because if you say silence, then Mr. Peter Obi spoke yesterday. So we expected him to be picked up, possibly today.
You can't imagine what he faces on a daily basis, from security agencies that are overzealous and acting on behalf of the state. You can't imagine what he faces on a daily basis moving around. I know a lot of opposition leaders and what they face. We should leave that. You can't even operate in this system when you are a businessman and have peace of mind. Because we have a system that is totally entrenched in state control. You talk about Ayodele Akele. He was my friend. I know what he suffered. He became a victim of repression, a victim of oppression, and suffered until he died. He became a victim of bad leadership, of people who don't want people to have their voice. He was the National Secretary of NCP, and for a lot of reasons. You see the new stylish way they have tried to give legitimacy to oppressing Nigerians, like using cyber crime law, using criminal defamation. If you don't define, you go to court. Police don't have the hand. Look at what's happening to Natasha.
But are you not convinced that the president is not in support of this? Because he has overtly said that in his speech, that while he's not saying that he's not taking away from defamation or libel, that people should not be picked up. Those are not the exact words, for calling him names, or calling lies. Don't you agree that the president is not in support of that?
For me to believe the president, he is in charge of this of the state. He's in charge of all the apparatus of state and everything. If he cannot bring them in, if he cannot make sure they act in line with the constitutional order, then his words will mean less to me. And because we can't rely on speeches without action and expect something to happen. Just like when the president says he's trying to bring peace in River State and then upturning constitutional order in the River State. And I don't know how to juxtapose those two statements, because for me, I have to go by what I see. And I believe in in action than words, because words will convey a different meaning to what has happened. We need to have an environment, because democracy is a very, very wonderful system of government. And the highest level, the pinnacle of democratic practice is freedom of speech. You can't have it if you don't have freedom of speech, 39, freedom of expression, freedom of association, 39, 40, and 41 of our constitution, then there's a problem. So we need to have this. Even in chapter 2 of our constitution, the principles of state policy, you need to have a situation where the president acts more than what we hear. We need to have a situation when he believes and his people believe in his own statement that he's making. All this criminal defamation that they are using to hold down people is not the work of police. If a person feels they have defamed me, let him go to court. Let's take the pain and go through the process and put our cases behind, and not to rely on the state structure to try to suppress the individual. Natasha case is very obvious. The youth copper case is very obvious. There are a lot of obvious cases that there are too many to mention. The problem the people in government have today is that they no longer this print media that it stays in Lagos and then control the narrative. There's an expanded public media medium today that young people have taken over control of information.
If I may, I have to interject at this point because we do have to go on a break, but thank you so much for joining us, sharing your thoughts, Chief Peter Ame, and thank you so much as well, Mr. Abiodun Shoumi, for joining us this morning on the conversation. We really appreciated your insights, and we look forward to having further conversations with you. Thank you. We'll now go on a break, and when we come back, we'll continue with Breakfast Central. Please stay with us.
Welcome back. Breakfast Central continues for you to jump in and join the conversation right now. But first, let's take a look at the front pages of the newspapers. We do have our guest who joins us very, very soon. Well, he's here with us as well. We do have Olufemi Musaku Johnson, is National Administrator, Association of Corporate Governance Professionals of Nigeria. Thank you so much for being here.
Very well.
All right.
So pleased to be with you.
Great to have you. We do have a short period of time, but let's make the best out of it as we start off with our very first paper this morning. And we would be looking at one of the papers very quickly. Let me see which one we would love to start with. Okay, possibly.
Let's of course, begin with the Daily Trust, actually.
Okay.
Very well.
Yes. Front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, the big story there, of course.
PDP, ADC, SDP, take on Tinubu on opposition, comment. I'm sure you heard the comment. We don't need to go back on it. Let's start with that first of all. What did you make of that comment? Was he right? Did he have any form of any need to have told them that he's reeling from the fact that they are disjointed or disunited?
Absolutely. You cannot expect the opposition to be quiet. It's not possible anywhere. Even when you have opposition in the family, you can't expect the opposition to be quiet. But the most important thing is to see, are they being objective or are they being partisan? You see, I'm trying to see in this country if we can get to a level where we can basically dissect or separate politics from pragmatism. That's a very big problem. People that are not doing well with politics, they say they are doing well. People that are doing well with politics, they say they are not doing well. So we are not being realistic. That's the problem. So I want to say that the opposition, as it were, I want to say, for their part, I think in some instances they are right. We have to say the truth. Truth is constant. We can continue to deceive ourselves. Of course, it's normal that we can, of course, we can have two and we say we have four. Of course, it's normal. But the potent opposition should be able to bring out, okay, this is what you are doing, that you are doing well. This is what you are doing, and we feel that you are not doing well, not because of the opposition, but because of the country. The most important thing is for every one of us to be stickler for patriotism, to put Nigeria first before any other thing. I've laid it down that Nigeria is not a product of amalgamation. I've laid it down in a number of places. Nigeria is not a product of Mr. Lord Lugard. Nigeria is a product of a force that is higher than every one of us. I am from the northern part of Lagos. I could have been joined to Kenya or Tanzania or to anywhere. Why was I joined to you? It means that nobody has anything to say about where is joined. We are joined together for a purpose. And incidentally, we are one of the greatest countries in the world. And our potentials are being totally undermined. And of course, the opposition have the right to say this is not working well. And of course, it is obvious that things, of course, For the APC, they feel that they have done so well, GDP has improved, that they paid some loans, this and that and so on. But the reflection in the life of ordinary people, you are talking about over 200 million people that are in terrible strangulation. So what do you do about that? Politics is meant to take care of the people. Politics is about people. Democracy is about people. I think they have not seen enough of it. And of course, many of them that are talking and so on, if they get the same opportunity, they will do the same thing. And that's what people are saying, that, okay, of course, they are not different. It's only that they are in different parties now, but all of them are the same. So we need to look at that.
Right. Very important there. Thank you for highlighting. Yeah. But also, just to mention that when we started the show, we talked about the Air India crash that has killed over 260 people.
Yes.
It turns out there's another crash. 8 family members die in Zaria auto crash. When we talk about accidents, we talk about accidents on our roads and, you know...
on the here.
Really sad there.
Yes.
Okay. We'll come back to it, but still going back again to this presidency and the Democracy Day speech. Sheraki Dixon says that there's no democracy as long as Rivers State is still under emergency rule. Do you agree?
Yes, I think so. I think what actually brought about the, realistically speaking, what brought about the issue of state of emergency in Rivers is politics, not pragmatism. This thing could have been sorted out in a different way, in a normal environment. It could have been sorted out. You can see a lot of power play that goes into it. And everybody is just bothered about his own survival, not the survival of the state. I was in the same River State last month. I'm not happy with all that I saw. I mean, I wasn't happy because I didn't see the kind of development that can basically relate to the kind of resources that is available to that state. Talking about fact, talking about potential of oil and so many derivation funds and so on. I didn't see it.
So where do you think the bulk of the responsibility lies? Because it feels like some will say that since Governor Siminalayi came into office, he has been fighting to remain governor. So he hasn't even had time for governance. Do you think that he has had enough time to have implemented whatever changes you expected to see?
No,
or do you think the bulk lies at his predecessor?
You cannot be smiling and be crying at the same time. You cannot have that terrible political imbroglio in your hand, and you feel that you can do anything that is developmental. So there are two different things. So he couldn't have done so much. Look at the house. The house was in shambles itself. The house was in shambles. The house never sat to look at the critical development criteria of the state. Of course, so many things along. I still see children selling hawking 11 p.m. Children are still hawking pure water and all kinds of things. Things are so terribly bad. Look, the whole place is in shambles. What I saw there last month. And I'm saying this to say that there is the need for the president of Nigeria and perhaps the Senate and the House to come together to bring final resolution to it. It is terribly undemocratic in a democratic environment to have installation of a sole administrator. It is not right anywhere. So every political problem has political solution, and that could have been done, especially when we are patriotic, when we are looking at the state, not ourselves. So everybody is bothered about himself. That's the problem. Everybody is looking at where this thing goes, political things that are very, very sweet to their mouth and so on. Nobody bothers about this. Everybody is trying to hold himself, to say, okay, I am the one in charge. The other people are saying I'm the one in charge. The FCT minister also has his own retinue of power that he wields at every point, even when it's not even in Rivers State. So we have to look at some of these things. These are the issues. And I mean, I think I want to say that within the space of this month, it should be looked at. The Executive Council, the Presidency, and the Senate, and so they should look at it and install the governor. It is not done. It is an aberration. It is an aberration to have a situation like that in a country that we are boasting about democracy for 26 years. It is not good for us at all. It is not good.
Okay. Let's also look at the same paper before we switch to the next one and see what we also have on the front pages there. Survivor narrates moment before crash. They killed 241, I want to believe.
It's actually even more than that because we're not factoring those in the hostel that were killed. Another paper records this.
Yeah, this is for the flight.
260.
Yes, this is for the flight
Yes.
alone. The flight had a total of 241, about a 200 and if I'm right, 230. 242, 230, seated. That's the passengers. Then 12 of the team members. Anyway, June 12, governors seek commitment to democratic ideals. Tinubu honors Yaradua, Balarabi Musa, Kudirat Abiola, Shoyinka, and others. I think we should talk about that. I think to look at the list as well, he was able to confer posthumous national honors on the likes of Shehu Musa Yaradua, GCFR, Professor Humphrey Nwosu, coincidentally, CON. Recall that it was a debate at the assembly where a member of the assembly, sitting senator, had said, he should be immortalized. And this led to back and forth. Why? And then people went up and dug the pictures or videos of the late INEC boss, or DG, if we want to call him that way, where they said he had the powers to have turned Nigeria's democracy around if only he decided to neglect and vehemently decide to disobey the law or directive that was given to him by Abacha's administration or regime, in quotes, because of the army, and then go ahead and announce the results. But then again, what do you think about the conferment? So far, so good. About
yes, I think for one thing, and it cannot be emphasized too emphatically, you don't give national award on political basis. You give national award on pragmatism basis. This cannot be emphasized too far. Now we see so many people that were given the award, they worth it. Of course, posthumous Saruriwa, we had Shehu Musa Yaradua, we have a number of them that, of course, Shoyinka got the highest and so on and so forth. But I see a number of people there that, despite the fact that we have all the information about people that are doing what not all over Nigeria, we saw some names there, especially from number 34 to number
who is that? What names?
Yeah, the names, I didn't see them in any national discourse. I've never seen them in anything. And of course, we see those kinds of names there, from number 34 to number 43 or thereabouts. I saw the names and said, where are these people? Where are these? What have they really done? And of course, you see, in corporate governance, we talk about FAT. FAT, F-A-R-T, fairness. For F, A, accountability, R, responsibility, and T, transparency. What is the criteria? Everybody should have it in their hands. I'm laying it down as a corporate governance expert in this country that the criteria should be open to everybody. When you talk about yes, fairness, accountability, responsibility, and transparency.
Okay.
Otherwise, there's no democracy.
Let's talk about one of the number one persons here, which is number 3, I would believe, Senator Godswill Akpabio, who has been in the news in the most recent times. We've seen some people push back at the fact that he was conferred a national honor, especially because the Red Chamber has had some negative spotlight in the past few months, particularly with regards to the involvement of or the allegations by Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. Do you think that that was a very deserving conferment?
I want to say that Mr. Akpabio, 10 of Mr. Akpabio's we have national honors, because we are not talking about pragmatism here. We are talking about politics.
So you think they were politically given or conferred upon?
Well, I don't have the criteria. Until you give me the criteria, then I will know. I was speaking on another station. I said, up to today, Nobody knows what senator earns. Somebody came out with some figures and so on. When I asked one of them, and I met one of them in Kano, he said, no, it's not like that. Up to today, nobody knows what the House of Rep man is earning. Nobody knows.
So
I can't believe that in my lifetime, I will be in a country and we will not have criteria for arriving at some indices. So if you have criteria, if you give me criteria, then I will see if Mr. Fabio that we are talking about actually is qualified. But I don't have the criteria. Once you don't have the criteria, you know that you have violated the first principle that we talk about in corporate governance.
Okay. All right. Because of our short time, we do have very few minutes to go. Let's go to the second paper. And, I mean, we do get your point. Daily Independent is the next one. And on the front page there, we would just go straight to what we would like you to discuss on. Democracy is declining in Nigeria, Peter Obi article warns. Peter Obi had a press briefing yesterday. In that press briefing, he queried the fact that 39 billion naira was used to renovate the ICC center when students or children don't have a roof in their schools, and no chair, no bench, no desk, but yet that money was used to renovate a building that already was in existence. What's your take on this?
Yes, I think I passed through the place sometimes in November last year, and I saw some renovation that is going on. But the issue is very, very critical. You know, when you say you meet a badly run economy, you say you come to the government, isn't it? No problem. I'm just being realistic. I don't belong to any party. I don't want party. What we want is Nigeria. When you say you met a very, this government say we met a very, very bad economy indices. There's nothing that was in the account of the federal government when we came in and so on. As soon as we came in, Abuja House renovated, yacht, jets, jeeps, at the face of excruciating pain, at the face of excruciating, we just want to advise, because we are not partisan. We are advocates. We are only advocating. We are not bothered about their parties, but we are advocating, especially because of the people of the country. There cannot be fire in a building and you are rearranging chairs. Is it possible? There's fire. The cost of food items is enormously too high for anybody.
But they say it's coming down, and then they've pegged dollar to 1,600.
Yes, you can peg this, you can peg that, but is it reflecting up to this morning? I don't know how much people are joining BOSS 2 years ago. I don't know how much they are joining, but everybody was saying that the subsidy is about 6 times.
10 times.
10 times. The fee they are paying for transportation. The school system is in shambles. Now, white want to go into what we call it now, computerization and so on, the exam, CBT and so on. Where are the computers in the school? Even when the teachers are not trained to handle those things, if you don't train them, why are you blaming them? If you don't train them, you are draining the economy. Now, the teachers themselves, they don't even know how to open computers. Many, excepting those of them that learned it on their own. Nobody has trained them. And we are talking about all this. And you are talking about the event center, or National Event Center, of course, 39 billion. The whole place was built for 240 billion. Now you just want to renovate, and you spend that at the face. You see, you cannot be crying and be laughing at the same time. They don't go together.
Great conversation.
Mr. Olufemi Mosako Johnson, it's been a great time having you analyze the stories with us. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Yes, the most important thing is our country. And whatever may be the case, our country will be great.
Amen. Thank you very much. Now, yesterday we did tell you that we'll be launching a documentary, Justice for Victory TISA. It's one of News Central's special investigative pieces that follows the alleged defilement of a 12-year-old and her experience with the Nigerian police. In this report, our special correspondent on investigative journalism, Marshal Anthony Onoye, investigates claims of police high-handedness, unlawful incarceration, and abuse of power by both the police and the judiciary. Let's take a look at this report.
Victory Tisa and her mother, Juliet Adi, are battling with what they have come to describe as police high-handedness in the investigation of the defilement of Victory twice by one man.
She was raped in my mother's place. They used to call him Brother Blessing. On that fateful day, he sent her an errand. After she come back to deliver the thing he asked her to go and buy, he now raped my daughter. I now reported this matter at Ajuromi police station. He started begging. He started kneeling down. He held my leg, was holding her cloth, was begging the both of us. And the DPO was recording it. When the boy was talking, when the boy was begging us, the DPO was recording everything. The IPO, she now called me that I should just take 200,000 and let the matter die. I said 200,000 to let the matter die. I now come to meet the DPO. I said, take the matter to court. He said, I will not tell him what to do. It is him that is going to do what he's going to do.
According to Juliet Adi, the DPO at the time, Peter Obami, promised to do all within his powers to see that she regrets questioning his authority.
In the night, I was just coming out from the bedroom. I heard more. We now see that it was this boy, him, his girlfriend, and his friend with a policeman with arm. He said, I'm under arrest. He said, under arrest for what? He said that we beat this boy. I said, where you take see me? I'm not coming back from the shop. How? Getting there. The DPO said they should just lock us up without asking any question, no nothing.
The policemen came to arrest her. They didn't ask questions. They just saw me and took me. They asked, are you the one? No investigation, no nothing. So when they came, my brother was not around. They took us to the station. They said, if you can provide my younger brother, they release me. I spent 5 days. My brother came in. I spent another 7 days in Kirikiri. After spending 5 days in the cell, I spent 7 days in Kirikiri.
That day, they took us to Kirikiri. We spent another 6 days in Kirikiri with beating, with torture.
Barrister Olumide Omoshebi is a rights advocate. For him, this is a complete perversion of justice.
Gross miscarriage of justice, and this is an indictment of both judiciary and the police. I think the proper thing would be to let this come out to light and let everybody, let their conscience, let the law, let humanity, from all angles, from morality to humanity to law, on all counts, this is gross miscarriage and an abuse of power by both the police and by that particular magistrate.
Victory, her mother, and the entire family continue to cry out as they hope to find justice someday. For News Central, Marshal Anthony Onoye.
Very, very sad story there, but here in the studio we do have our guests joining us. First off is News Central's investigative journalist, Marshal Anthony Onoye, who joins us here live in the studio. Marshal, thanks for being here. We also have joining us today families of the victim who are here with us as well. I'm going to mention their names very quickly. Better still, would also... Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is the mother of Juliet Adi, and we have her uncle, Bright Stanley. Thank you very much for joining us. I think before we get into the conversation, first of all, I wanted to say thank you. When I saw that video, the first thing I thought is, they're so brave. So thank you for believing your daughter. Thank you for speaking up for your daughter, and thank you for fighting for her. What happened?
Let me just say it quickly. My daughter was 12 I was not even in Lagos State. They came to my mother's place to come and spend holidays because we're based in Bayelsa State. Every holidays I do bring them. I'm a single mother.
Okay, so in the case of defilement, her daughter was defiled by one man, and she then reported the matter to the police station in Ajeromi, Felodun, in Ajegunle there. And when the matter was reported, eventually a search was put out for the young man, and he was arrested. When he was apprehended, he allegedly confessed, according to what they told us, that the young man confessed to the crime. And it was recorded, with the DPO at the time recorded it on his phone. Eventually, days went by, and the family of the young man offered them 2 million in compensation. I think he would attest to that. Bright, you want to speak on that?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, speak up. Okay, so when we go to the station, after we made arrest to the boy, unknown to us, without informing us, the DPO released the boy. So one of the family member of the boy got 2 million that we should collect 2 million. We said no. Then later, the IPO who is in charge of the case said that we should just collect 200,000. Meanwhile, these people, why they are telling us we should collect this money, because they know we don't have people, we cannot fight them. So they just want to oppress us, doing all sorts of things. Even when we got to the station, we were complaining that why would they release the boy without our notice. The DPO flogged my nephew. Yes, he flogged him out of the office. Yes, we that make the complaint, we that made the arrest, we haven't been oppressed by the DPO. The DPO was insisting that, okay, he will decide if the case will go to court or not, that we cannot do anything about it. He had to, he drove us like it was always oppressing us. So we discovered that we couldn't get justice. So me myself, I went on there and I went to Twitter and make a report. I had to report, and it was called. When they called the DPO, he denied it. So anytime they call him, ask him about the case, he will deny it. He has denied it. He hasn't come out and say anything about it.
Then eventually they got involved in a scuffle. Your nephew, and that's Victory. Victory is the victim of the defilement. She was actually defiled twice by this same young man, who at the time was not a teenager. He was 28 years.
He was 24 by then.
He was 24. She was 12 and he was 24 at the time. Now that fight that ensued between her elder brother and the defiler was what was reported to the police station by the defiler, leading up to the police swapping their house and getting them arrested. They arrested him, the uncle, who just arrived at their house that night, the mother, and the young man who was involved in the fight was at work at that night. The policemen came to arrest them. And so when they took them to the station, they had said, look, you will stay instead of the young man who was involved in the fight. When he comes tomorrow, we would release you. So they mounted pressure on the young man to come. That's their brother. And when he eventually came, they detained the 3 of them in the police cell for how long?
5 days. So they locked you, they locked mommy, and then they locked
the one who was
the younger brother to Victory.
Yes.
They locked them up in prison for 5 days.
For 5 days. And eventually they were arraigned in court. Quickly tell us about the court. At the end of the 5 days of detention, how did you go to court and Kiri?
When people sent us to court, it was like, okay, we are going to go to jail. So when we go to court, the first judge who judged the case, judged it to our favor, because we brought all the evidence, we told her what happened. So he said that, okay, we just provide some basic things and go home. So we are so happy now. We went home, we are free, we are safe. Only for us.
Mind you, the case in court was 2 fighting.
Yes.
It wasn't about sexual assault.
No, it wasn't about assault.
It
It was the
changed.
case of fighting. So go ahead.
So the first judge now, she judged the case and she said we should go home, we are free, all of that. So when we went home, the next day, this new judge called us back that it's our case, that the first judge cannot decide for her. So he brought us back. He didn't even say anything. She just took us to jail.
When she brought you back, did she start the case afresh?
She didn't do
Did
anything.
Did
They didn't hear them at all.
They didn't hear you at all.
We don't even see her in person.
We didn't see her.
She just sent us to Kirikiri.
For 7 days.
For 7 days, that the same day. Even when I was in Nigerian police station, I thought maybe I was going to die. Because where they are, there was some boys with them. Where I am, it's just only me one day. And somebody was coming to come and check on me every night, every midnight. And thank God, because God was who He is. I was always alert. I said, the way this man is looking at me, I don't like it. He will be peeping at me. He will now stand straight. I said, does he want to come and kill me? For what I don't even know. My daughter was writing Echo in Agbara. She had to leave Okwa for that night to come to Jeremy to come and meet this man, beg this man, holding his leg to let her mothers go. This man kicked her out of the Jeremy police station. That was around after 11 in the night. The following day she came back to come and beg this boy that defied her to let her mother go.
She begged the boy.
The boy now was calling her names. If that is not enough, when we are even in that Jeremy cell, he came, he was boasting that thank God now we are inside a Jeremy cell. Because he just came to this virgin he was telling the elder brother that because I disvirgin your younger sister, is that why you are coming to come and fight me? Now we will see who will go to jail. That 25 million, you guys are going to give it to me. Say 25 what? That we will give it to him. That him, he can walk freely. But let's see how me, my family, my children will walk free. Until tomorrow, the boy is still boasting about it.
Well, so you might wonder why the case took a turn and saw them, remanded in Kirikiri. Bright tells me that the DPO and the judge who remanded them in Kirikiri share a very close relationship that goes way back to their childhood days. Bright, you want to talk about that?
When we do our findings, we discover that the judge and the DPO, they are close friends. The judge and the DPO who charged the case, who took us to court, they are very, very close friends.
How did you know this?
Because, when we got to the judge, the first judge told us, even our lawyer too, they were using before, also told us that the judge and the DPO, because the judge now handed over, it wasn't her that took the case at first. So the DPO took the case to her directly. Even now, we are trying to find a way whereby we can just remove the case from hand to another judge. Or even the DPO too should come out, let him come out, let him speak. If we are lying, if we are not saying the truth too, I'm calling him out today. He can, if he's able to see me, to hear me, let him come out and say his own side of the story.
Do we have names?
Yes.
Yeah.
His name is Peter Obami.
So DPO Peter
Obami, yes.
Yeah,
Let him come
he's
out.
no longer a DPO anyway.
Oh, okay. He's been elevated?
No, so he's moved away from being the DPO of Jeremy. Now, we tried to reach out to him. You'd see in the the documentary, you'd see that we tried to reach out to him, asking him about this particular case. And we asked him to give us some particulars that we wanted and also his own side of the thing. But he denied knowing the case, and even when I sought to know where he is currently serving, the police formation where he serves, he said he couldn't disclose that to us. And I was wondering why, a serving policeman wouldn't, despite identifying myself, to him, making it clear who I was. And he opted not to disclose his location to us. So we currently do not know where he serves and in what capacity that he is currently serving. But we do know that he's still in the police force.
Have the police said anything about this?
So we went up to the state CID where the case of fighting was then charged to court because he, transferred the case to the state CID. Yes, and
what we heard was that the person who was alleged to have defiled was said to have no case to answer. Yes. The legal department of the Nigerian police was the one that came up with that report. How they came up with that report, we do not know. And because they said it was still in court, that they couldn't speak on the matter, we should just go report what is being done in court.
Can you tell us the name of the man that you say defiled your daughter?
His name is Blessed Akonuche.
Blessed Azonuche.
Azonuche, sorry.
All right, Blessed Azonuche.
Azonuche, yes.
Where is Blessed Azonuche now? Do we know where he is? Because I heard you say earlier that he's still making boats.
Yes, he's living at, I think, number 13, number 136.
Let's spell his address. But he's in Lagos, right?
He's in Ajegule there. We do see him every day. But presently, right now, I don't even know. Me and my family, we cannot walk freely because we are afraid of the unknown. Because we don't know what will happen next. We don't go out freely. We cannot associate freely. We cannot even attend to maybe neighbors' party or whatever. Like we, 8 o'clock, maximum 8 o'clock. If I don't see you at home, I will be calling you. Where are you? Please come back to the house. Come to the house.
Just to clarify, how long ago did this happen?
The defilement happens in 2021 and 2022. Everything started.
The arrest
and all the rest. And 2023, this one happens.
The one of the fighting?
2023.
Right.
And then the court case is also from 2023?
Yes.
And is the matter still in court?
Yes.
Still in court. As of yesterday, a day before yesterday, they went to court.
And what was the last update?
It's been adjourned
to 23rd of next month.
July
2023.
Okay. Now let's come back to the person who unfortunately has had to deal with all of this. The trauma of being abused, the trauma of having to apologize to her abuser, the trauma of having to beg for her family. How is Victory Tessa?
I don't even know. Initially, Victory was traumatized. Think, imagine when something happened to you and whenever you say anything around you, you be afraid. My mother was telling me, hold her. Even if she's going to ease herself, hold her. She's going, and even if she wants to eat, hold her. Because she doesn't even know her right from her left. She was traumatized until we took her to Warif. Victory was going to Warif from the very first day. You asked us to go to there. Thank God the doctor in charge, she has a patient for her. She was just talking to her, counseling her every day. It was just a freeze. Even in her studies, if not that God is God, Victory couldn't have even come out with anything. Because she's not focused.
What was the time difference between the first abuse and the second abuse?
It's not even long. I don't think maybe it's even up to 2 or 3 weeks.
And did she tell you the first time?
No. She couldn't. Even the first and second. Because anytime the boy sees her, he will be threatening her. Because
So let me just summarize for you. So the first and second, she didn't tell the mother because they had come from Bayelsa for a vacation, and when this defilement happened, it was until she returned home to her father that she was able to tell her father's wife, that's her stepmother, that this was what happened to me while I was at my grandma's place in Lagos. And so because the father and her are, on a dispute, they're currently suing for, yes. So he leveraged on that to call her out, and also reported that in their family court where they're currently sitting and trying to get custody, and that was when she then found out that the daughter was raped, while she was in her custody. And she then decided to report to the police station and start the entire investigation went up to a reef that went ahead to confirm that she was actually defiled. You went to a reef and they told you she was defiled?
Yes, severally.
You know, so she didn't know about it initially.
So what do you want? I'll start with you, Bright, and then I'll come to you, ma'am.
I want justice. Secondly, I want to be free because I'm innocent. You know, case like this, after everything, the DPU and the judge is still insisting that we should go and beg the boy. Meanwhile, they went to the house, but me, I stood on my ground and said, I'll never beg someone for a crime I did not commit because I didn't fight with him. Even that time, I was even in school when the whole incident happened. I wasn't even in Lagos. So I got into the incident because, unfortunately, I came to the house that day. So what I want is justice. If he can be working freely and he committed a crime, and we didn't do anything, we are paying for it. So I want I want justice.
Okay.
All right. And for you, what do you want? What would justice look like for Victory Tessa?
I want justice for Victory and for my family. I want us to work according to my younger brother. I want to be working freely like the victim. Can you imagine?
Or like the abuser?
Sorry, like the abuser. Me, that my daughter was being defiled. I'm the one that has been, I'm afraid to even walk on the streets. Because I don't, even when we were in court, even when we were in court that day, somebody was videoing me. My mother was telling me, this guy is videoing you. I said, he's not videoing me. My mother said, this guy is videoing you. I said, no. Until now, it was after now, and I know that truly that guy was videoing me. I don't know what he wants to do with it.
All right. If you'd allow me, I'd like them to talk about their experience in Kirikiri when they were remanded. I mean, this is the mother of the person who was defiled, but the person who fought was remanded with them quite all right. But it doesn't make any sense to have the mother and this other young man whom they picked from the house detained for 6 days and then remanded in Kirikiri maximum
prison. So please tell us about it.
I went to Kirikiri. It was not funny. I didn't even pray for my enemy to be in that Kirikiri. Mostly the innocent ones. We are being beaten. We are asked to dig. They call it, locally they call it sock away. You have to pack those things there. You know, you will not eat.
By those things, you're talking of poop?
The waste, yes. And those things, you will not eat. Okay, can you ask what kind of food they don't want to give you in Kirikiri? How much more before you pack in those things, before you eat? You can imagine. My younger brother and my son was big.
Right. You want to talk about your experience?
Like when we were in Kirikiri prison, one would just go to the prison immediately. They took off our clothes, took our belts, collected our money. One will get into the prison, our own prison. The marshal inside, they used to call the marshal. He said we should bring money. Well, because we don't have money. That's at that time now. I didn't give him money, so he started beating me inside prison. Started slapping me. You know, we sit side by side. See the way we see the place was very congested. Even people who have tuberculosis, who have other diseases, they were there. We were coughing. The food too. Couldn't even eat. So if you don't pay money, you will not beat. They will take you outside.
You pay money?
Yes.
How much?
From 5,000 upward. They will give you a phone that you have to call people outside, the phone and an account number to send money. That's what the marshal normally do. So if you don't comply, they'll take you outside to the soccer with the sewage, ask you to bail all the pool inside yourself. It was very, very terrible. Now imagine how big the sewage is.
What were you using to pack the
buckets? They give you buckets
and your bare hand.
Your bare hands, yes, without clothes, without slippers, nothing.
And why this sort of aligns with what we've heard on this show. When Quadri Alabi came here to share his testimony, his experience when he was behind bars wrongfully, he said that he was asked to pack poop as well. It's really sad. We want victory. We want justice for Victory, sir. There's so many organizations and bodies here that have questions to answer. The correctional facilities have questions to answer, because if this level of irresponsibility, you know, it has questions to answer. We also have the police. The police have a lot of questions to answer. the judiciary have questions to ask.
I think we're going to. I mean, great job done by Marshall. Marshall, thank you so much. I mean, we share our condolences with you, madam, and of course, the young man.
Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry
for everything. We hope that now that we're, shining the light on this issue, it will get the needed action, especially from those whom should actually handle this situation. But thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. And in case Victory is watching, just to say to Victory that you are such a brave girl, and we're so proud of you for fighting for yourself, for telling this story, and you are speaking up for yourself and millions of other women who have to unfortunately deal with abuse. It's not a responsibility that you should deal with. Unfortunately, this is the reality that we're faced with, but we will continue to do all that we can here to speak up for justice for you, and we're so sorry that you've had to deal with, go through what you've gone through. We're so sorry. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming. Thanks all for watching. Sorry we had to end the show on a sad note, but stick around. Your series up next. I'm Joe Hansen.
And I'm Olive Emodi, and we'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.